Leadership, man, is not it's not an easy tightrope walk. Once again, the controversy treadmill continues to churn and churn and churn and churn and churn and churn. Looks like Sheikh Hamza Yusuf has put his foot in the doo-doo again, so to speak. And people are, of course, standing by, knives sharpened, ready to gut him. I kind of, without, I'm not trying to deflect from some legitimate criticisms that people have had or have against Sheikh Hamza and, some of his comments. Like, I wrote a piece about some of his racist comments when he talked about black on black crime, at Riz a couple years ago at the Reviving the Islamic Spirit Conference. And then I saw a video today, I guess, in which people were upset because they felt that he was laughing at the demise of the Syrian people and how they were, people have been butchered and slaughtered. And I took it a little bit different. I didn't feel like he was actually laughing. I think, sometimes there's, anyway, I don't think he found it comical. And I'm not saying this to defend him. I take it from a different point of view. So I met Sheikh Hamza close to 20 years ago, I think, in Philadelphia. And I have seen this happen with a large number of so-called Muslim leaders. I shouldn't say so-called Muslim leaders. I don't mean to imply that Sheikh Hamza hasn't been a leader. At least, to some is generally considered a leader in the Muslim community. I see the progression of somebody like Sheikh Hamza having gone from just a, student of knowledge into this leadership position. He certainly was propelled, and everybody loved to celebrate his genius and whatnot. But along the way, what I have seen happen is that what I've seen with a lot of Muslim leaders, increasingly you become surrounded by yes men. People that just keep telling you how great you are and kind of keep blowing smoke up your rear. And one of the things that struck me when I met him those 20 years ago is that my impression was that he was kind of a lonely person. And I don't mean this as, I'm not saying this to say anything negative. And again, my impressions of Sheikh Hamza, these could apply to a great many people in leadership that are often very lonely people. And because they've grown to such an extent, it's like they almost can't have regular socialization with other people, with other Muslims. And everybody wants you to stay on this pedestal. For me, this is very unhealthy for people in leadership position. Now that I myself humbly have my own little gig that I run, alhamdulillah, at Middle Ground, I look upon Sheikh Hamza with a certain degree of sympathy. I certainly don't justify any of the things that he says, but I look at it from a different perspective now. It's a very lonely thing to constantly be, in that position, always having to have the answers. And along with being a yes man, right? And people thinking that you can speak to any and all problems, after a period of time, you may actually come to believe, well, yes, I can. And you may find yourself speaking on things that you really ain't got no business speaking on. You become to realize, or you no longer recognize or realize that you have limitations, and there are some things that you just might not want to speak on, or you're not qualified to speak on, or let somebody else do some of the heavy lifting. And that's why I do hold the community partially accountable for the creation of the psychologies of people like a Sheikh Hamza, who I think is still, a good guy. I think that he's become a little bit of a victim of his own success, if I may be allowed to do my very quick Bane impersonation, right? Victory has cost you your strength, right? So we don't often realize, how is it that a person could go from, I think it was Imam Shadi today who, was playing like an old Hamza Yusuf video, and he was saying, like, back in the day, that used to be something that used to be on rotation on a cassette tape in the car, and, to me, there's still some of that Sheikh Hamza who's left. And again, I'm not defending Hamza Yusuf. He is worthy of criticism, and people can make their criticisms of him. What I'm saying is that, how does a person get from the old Sheikh Hamza, who used to be about that, used to have that fire that many of us could relate to, right, making these social faux pas and talking about things that just maybe really shouldn't talk about. And also, the community has also, I think, been socialized and indoctrinated into, I don't know, I feel like it's almost like back in the old days, you used to watch like WWF wrestling, and it's like the villain that the crowd loves to hate. It's like everybody was waiting for him to get up on here, and now everybody's pulling out, their steel chairs and hitting him over the head. You spend 20, 30, 40 years climbing the staircase only to reach the top of it, and everybody's there just waiting to kick you off, and then gets kind of an odd, macabre kind of pleasure of watching you bounce down this long flight of stairs, watching you do injury to yourself, watching you humiliate yourself, watching you do these indignities to yourself. It's certainly one of the concerns that I have. Alhamdulillah, for somebody like me, I don't think I will ever reach that level of popularity, because just for a number of reasons, and nor would I don't see any benefit in doing so. I'm quite content with my little corner of the world. The second part to this is, and it was relating to what I was saying about, the loneliness, is we all need friends. Suhbah, companionship, friendship is really, one of the essentials of life. And I hear far too many people today talk about, I don't need friends, right? This is a tragic mistake of modernity, of people don't think they need friends. And that's why I greatly value, when I first became Muslim about 30 years ago, I have some friends of mine back in Michigan, even though I live in California now, and some of them live all over the country or all over the world. But we still talk to each other. We meet up when we can. And I greatly value those friendships for being able to keep me, honest to keep me, to keep me humble. I value my friendship, for instance, with people like Sheikh Joe Bradford, with Imam Suhaib Webb. I greatly value these because I'm able to talk with them, joke with them, laugh with them, confide to them, vent to them, in a way that, even though, when I go to work and I punch in and I put on my little, cape and my kufi and I become Imam Marc, it's still really beneficial for me to have people that know me outside of that role, and that people I can just enjoy. I can enjoy being Muslim around. Like, just being Muslim is something to celebrate. I think as I've grown in my relationship and friendship, for instance, with Dr. Jackson, over the years, when I was young, I had such reverence for Dr. J. He just, I sometimes I couldn't even speak in his presence, that kind of just being overawed. Now when I get together with Dr. J, it's really like talking to an older brother, but also just to a friend. I mean, we laugh, we joke, we talk about serious issues, we vent, and it's a blessing to have that progression in our relationship. It's certainly extremely beneficial, for myself and also for him too. I see it. I see it in Sheikh Joe. I see it in Imam Suhaib, the importance of having good friendships. So, once again, take it easy, be mindful of this controversy treadmill, go out and make good friends and laugh and have a good time and break bread and be in each other's lives, love one another. The Prophet ﷺ said that, we won't have faith حَتَّى يُحِبُّ لِأَخِيهِ مَا يُحِبُّ لِنَفْسِهِ, until we love for our brother, until we love for ourselves. And as I've said many times, how many of us in communities even know each other's names? So how are we going to love somebody we don't even know their name? So take the time to, do more than just watch personalities vent about what this person did and micro-analyzing. I will say this, and you can criticize Sheikh Hamza as I have certainly criticized him, and maybe I will or won't in the future, depending on what he says or does, right? But even within my criticism of Sheikh Hamza, nobody can take away what he has done not even just in terms of Zaytuna College, but just the impact that he has had on the iman of countless Muslims simply can't be taken away. And I'm not interested in completely tearing down somebody, even though they have sometimes said some things that, if we was really tight, I probably might have tagged you in the mouth. I might have blown that eye out. Maybe, does anybody even know, like, is he okay? Like, does he have friends? Is he all right? Can somebody get at him, get his phone number, talk to him, bring him back to reality, right? And more importantly, who knows? Beyond just, this ain't all about, this isn't a learning moment for just Sheikh Hamza. This is a learning moment for all of us. So I think it's a moment of which we can all examine how we are behaving towards each other. And nobody take this as quietism or me trying to deflect legitimate criticism, or I'm not defending him, right? His actions are what they are, and you can make of them what you want. But inshallah, I got to go in here and pick up my daughter. I hope that I just hope, man, we can become prophetic again.